And welcome everybody to the Scarlet and Gray podcast. This is your co-host Cory going solo today. Please, if you like what you see, click the like button on the video and subscribe to the YouTube channel Scarlet and Great Empire. For those who are listening on audio, search Scarlet and Great on your favorite podcast service such as iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Google Play, and more. Also, please leave us a comment, let us know what you think, and also give us a review if you can. That being said, going on with the show. Okay, there's one overlooked point regarding the Sugar Bowl. That's on Friday, January 1st, 8 p.m.-ish. And our favorite network, ESPN, in New Orleans, Louisiana. One overlooked point I wanted to make, because we've already done a preview with Kieran earlier in the week, and I just kind of want to come here and go solo and give a perspective I think a lot of people aren't really looking at, because there's a lot of doubters out there, obviously, for Ohio State. There's a lot of people who really are not giving us a chance at all. I mean, you look at Clemson this season, other than when Trevor Lawrence was out and they had several defensive players out, Clemson has looked good for the most part. And there's times this year Ohio State does not look good. And I think, obviously, when Justin Fields is arguably your best player and he doesn't look as crisp as you want him to look in the last game, it's always a what have you done for me lately sport. People start to have doubts, especially when you know that Clemson has this aura over Ohio State, right? I mean, Dabo's beaten us 3 times. People continuously reference the 2016 game. Because that was obviously just a massive beatdown Ohio State. There's no excuses for that. That was just horrifying. But you know what? To be honest with you, all the doubters, all the people who are saying that we have no shot, that's actually making this game more fun for me, more exciting. It's actually making me look more forward to it. It's house money. We don't really get that feeling as Ohio State fans very often. I love being the underdog. I love it. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. I mean, it's actually rare that we're the underdog. It doesn't happen often with Ohio State. And it's not like, I mean, we still don't have that feeling where we go into a game and we're obviously just significantly less talented than than the team we're playing. I mean, I don't know what that's like as an Ohio State fan. I mean, maybe there's been times, but it's not very often. It's very rare. It's just fleeting. The memories are fleeting. I don't know how many times in my life I've gone into a game as an Ohio State fan thinking, man, there's just no way. I mean, now granted, there's games I go in, I think we're not going to win. I mean, 2002, the national title game, I guess, when they played Miami, that was clearly a more talented team in Miami. I mean, like I think like the entire roster was in the NFL. It was absurd. It's just, it was incredible. I mean, I went in that game just like, I'm happy we're here, but I just don't even see how it's going to happen. I, along with everybody else, I think many of Buckeye Nation, maybe they had their hopes up that we could pull a miracle off. I went in that game thinking, yeah. Now, granted, that is the younger me, and I noticed that in younger generations is that you're more pessimistic about sports. It's kind of interesting. As I've gotten older, like this game coming up, even though we don't have a great history against Clemson, I feel confident. I feel good about it. I feel optimistic about it. I'm kind of enjoying the underdog role. But, when you're young, you experience these things for the first time. I mean, like I did for the national title game 2002, I was 18, 19, something like that. Oh, man, a long time ago now. I'm getting old. You really want to experience the joy of victory, don't you? You want to experience, getting a national title in your lifetime, because you never know when it's going to happen again. So what do you do? You get negative, you get pessimistic. You don't want to get your hopes up. And I was like that for that game. And that's why it's the greatest game I've ever watched in my life. It's because of how unbelievable that feeling was. Like, wow, we just pulled off one of the greatest upsets at the time. I think it was the greatest upset in bowl history. I think we're 13-point underdogs of that game or something along those lines. Miami was just loaded. I mean, you had Mark May, the infamous Mark May, Miami 37-12. And I remember that pregame there, they laughed at him. You want to be a little bit more respectful, because that's me being respectful. He just didn't think, no, but I mean, along with most people, just didn't. Trev Alberts was a big ESPN talking head back then as well. Just nobody gave Ohio State a shot. And that, now granted, it's not quite to that level this time. It's like, okay, I think it's not quite the disrespect isn't quite like it was back then. I mean, we were looking ugly all year in that year anyway, and people thought we were slow and just couldn't keep up with an incredible team like the super team, like the Hurricanes at the time. And we have, and of course, look, you look at them now. Jim Tressel just completely broke that program, and I love it. But it's still you don't see many talking heads really thinking that Ohio State even has a shot in this game. And if you talk to Clemson fans, now granted, I haven't talked to a whole lot of them. The ones that seem to come in my DMs or my mentions or talk to my friends, all saying, how do you guys even think you have a shot in this game? How do you guys even think that it's going to be close? Which is amazing to me. It is absolutely amazing to me. And again, I understand that there's this aura of invincibility around Clemson versus Ohio State. I totally get it. I absolutely get it. I even get why Buckeye fans are continuously nervous about this game. I see it all over Twitter. I love just to watch Twitter because I have so many Buckeye fans I follow, and you kind of get you go to the message boards and you kind of get a sense of how many of them. I don't know if it's a majority, but how many of them feel, and it's a lot of fun because it's like you can sit back with your perspective and then watch other people's perspective. I'm not nervous about the game because at the end of the day, it's just a game. They lose, they win, they win. It stinks not to have any more football if they lose. It stinks not to play for a national title if they lose. But you move on with life, right? And you hope for a more normal season next year. But that being said, it's just I guess as I get older, I learn to just kind of appreciate the moment a little bit more versus when I was younger. And I just, people nervous about this game. But, and don't get me wrong, I get it because Clemson is immensely talented. They're an immensely talented team. They have NFL players all over that roster. They have an excellent coaching staff. And I may not like Dabo. I really don't. But he is a winner. You can't argue that. And no, I don't dislike him for that reason. I mean, for Nick Saban's a winner. I like and respect Nick Saban. With Dabo, he's just, in my opinion, not a likable person. In my eyes. And I know a lot of Clemson fans would hate me for that and disagree with me for that. I don't really care. That's neither here nor there. That's another video for another time. Another podcast for another time. But as talented as Clemson is, and again, they are. Not taking anything away from them. Ohio State is every bit as talented, if not more so. In fact, if you look at the recruiting rankings. Now, the recruiting rankings aren't everything. Look at Georgia. They recruit as well, if not better, than most teams outside of Alabama, and they're a 2-loss team every year. Obviously, a bit of a development and coaching problem there, but so recruiting, it doesn't begin and end with recruiting rankings. But Ohio State recruits as well as anybody in the country. They're every bit as talented. They're going to put most of this roster in the NFL, or a good chunk of this roster in the NFL. So it's not a talent issue. If you're worried about this game, it's not a talent issue. And they also have a tremendous coaching staff. What is Day now? I mean, he was 22-1 or something like that. I mean, it's not like these guys can't coach. I mean, they have a great coaching staff in Ohio State as well. Ryan Day is one of the young up and coming coaches. Like, look, his first 2 seasons, he's already in the playoffs twice. I mean, it's just. I can go down a list of coaches that we have that are superstars. The Brian Hartlines, the Larry Johnsons, the Kevin Wilsons. These guys are amazing coaches. Al Washington's an up. Look at the way the linebackers have been improving. And I get the jury's still out on Kerry Combs a little bit. This is a bit of a money game for him. In a sense, I'm of the mindset that I like to give him an opportunity for next year in a more normal setting, but. I understand he's been scrutinized a little bit. The defense hasn't been as good, but again, we've discussed this on this show. There's not a lack of talent, but the talent level has dropped from last year at least, but in experience as well. So, but again, the defense has shown improvement recently. This will be a bit of a money game though, because it's Clemson. They have a great offense. It's Clemson. So what do you do? What do you do, coach? How do you slow them down if you can slow them down? How can you hold them under 30 points and give our offense a chance? How can you hold them under maybe even 25 points, give their offense a chance? Who knows? He scored 29 in Hafley's defense, so we'll see. Different approach this year is what I'm guessing. But that's, again, a great coaching staff, right? And we have the scheming. We have the player development, not only to play with anybody in the country, but to beat anyone in the country. We're Ohio State, and I think Ohio State fans sometimes it's like, not all of you, but some in the insecurity shows sometimes. You know, I get it. Again, I've documented how I get it because it's Clemson, but you're Ohio State. Always remember that. You know, you don't have to fear anybody. Again, this isn't, you know, think about Northwestern fans going into the game against Ohio State. You kind of already know you're going to lose the game, I would imagine. I mean, you have hope. You think, yeah, we can play with this. We can beat them. We got a lot of great. I mean, now, granted, there's those few and far between that are a little delusional, like, oh, we're going to crush them. But you know, think about that. I mean, you go into a game against Ohio State that dominates the conference. We don't have that feeling yet. Somehow we tend to do that with Clemson, even though we don't really have a reason to do that with Clemson. And I don't care that they beat us 3 times in a row. I get it. But 2016 aside, well, we all know what happened there, right? Let's talk about those 3 times. 2016 aside, we all know what happened there, and thankfully that's Michigan's problem now. You all know what happened there. If you look at 2013 and 2019, Ohio State has killed themselves more than I feel Clemson has actually won the game. That doesn't mean I don't think Clemson did enough to win. I just think it's more along the lines of this, a 2-word phrase: unforced errors. Unforced errors, I think, has just completely killed us in those 2 games. And I don't even want to go as far to say it's like we've kind of almost handed the games to them on a silver platter to some degree, because I don't see. Well, you know what? Let me show you a highlight clip. Let me show you what I'm talking about.
Billy Brown awaits the pinion punt. And he muffed it. He muffed the punt, and Clemson falls on it. That's Robert Smith with the turnover.
Lays out, but let's watch the ball to see where that football hits. Yeah, I definitely going to take a peek at it.
The AT&T pylon cam.
After further review, the pass was incomplete. Therefore, it's 4th down and goal at the 5-yard line.
And 15. Tigers bring pressure. It's a screen. Dobbins bobbled it, had a blocker and plenty of.
Took so long for Fields to eventually give him a chance to throw the football. He's going to come from the outside and work to the middle because it takes so long for Fields. Watch Olave right here. The ball is thrown out here. Olave puts his foot in the ground and comes back the other way, thinking that maybe the quarterback's going to scramble.
Okay, so when I say unforced errors, I don't mean where the team just beat us, they out-schemed us, they out-coached us, they outplayed us. Clemson has done that in spurts against us. Don't get me wrong. In 2016, they obviously all the above outplayed us, outcoached us, out-schemed us. All the above. That goes without saying. But I'm talking about doing things that are either uncharacteristic or unnecessary that are these things completely alter the game. It can take one play sometimes, and the momentum has completely swung, and all of a sudden the game looks very different. Now, don't get me wrong. Both teams will make many mistakes within the game. I had Clemson fans arguing with me last year that, Clemson made mistakes too. I understand you made mistakes. I'm talking about unforced fumbles, drops, and things of that nature that are clear touchdowns. I mean, if Amari Rodgers on Friday gets wide open for an 80-yard touchdown and just drops a bomb pass, then you could say that counts as to what I'm talking about. Especially if it's like on a 3rd down, right? So I'm just, what I'm talking about are things that Ohio State has done to themselves to give Clemson the game, or give them at least an upper hand to where it's a major uphill battle for Ohio State. And let's talk about that first clip. That was Clemson, Ohio State, 2013. Philly Brown, an unforced muffed punt. There was 3:48 left to go in the 3rd quarter, and we were up 29-20, and we were getting the ball back. The defense had finally been getting some stops. We were down 20-9 at one point in that game. The defense had finally come alive a little bit, been able to slow them down and give our offense a chance to catch up. So we're getting the ball back. Look, you're up 29-20. You don't need a big play there. You don't need it. I was at that game. In fact, for those of you who are watching on YouTube, little know, this hat's from that game. I bought this hat for that game. Maybe it's a bad luck hat. Who knows? I've been to 3 Ohio State games. we've won one of them by 1 point. That was 2018 Maryland. I swear it's so ridiculous. I went to the Orange Bowl in 2013. We lost. I went to the Gator Bowl 2000 a couple years prior to that with Luke Fickell. We lost. I mean that's really just is what it is. And then I went to the 2018 Maryland game at Maryland thinking, you know what, this should be an easy enough win, right? Nope. So I am banned from Ohio State games, according to my partner in crime here, Johnny. But anyway, Philly Brown, you didn't need to make a play there. And I was sitting directly above where he tried to catch that ball and that punt. That's right where my section was. And we were all screaming, just catch the bleeping ball. We were speaking French. And we would just catch the ball. There's no reason for it. And Philly had a penchant. Sometimes was scary back there. And I'll be honest with you, that was a typical thing for Urban Meyer. Punt returners is a little too aggressive at times. Just catch the ball. You don't need to make a play there. There's no reason. We're not desperate. We're not down 20-9. You think you can do something. That's not what no. That was the time I thought, don't be aggressive there. And he didn't, it wasn't caused by anybody. He just tried to make a spin move before he caught the ball because he was thinking about the next move rather than catching the ball, even though two or three Clemson defenders were bearing down on him. Catch the ball. Fair catch it. Catch the ball. Put our offense, which has been on fire, put them back on the field of Braxton Miller. And then, again, going back to this narrative about Clemson and Ohio State, I had lunch with a friend of mine who follows sports like a couple days later after that game because I made the trek back home from Miami and literally had lunch and didn't Phil Clemson kind of just beat Ohio State's butt? Didn't they kind of just beat them up? And I thought to myself, what do you mean they beat them up? We lost by 5. We had the ball with the game-winning drive on the line. And Braxton, who probably shouldn't have been in the game at that point because he was heavily injured, threw an interception. And, it is what it is. I mean, I felt so horrible for Braxton because, he came away saying everybody's going to hate me. Braxton, you played a heck of a game, dude. It's okay. But in 2013, we're nowhere without Braxton Miller. So, I'm not going to blame him, but again, it's that narrative. Didn't they just kind of beat him bad? They lost by 5. What are you talking about? It's 41-36, I believe the score was, if I recall correctly. Could be thinking about the Michigan 2011 game now that I think about it. But I mean, we had the ball with a chance to win the game. We didn't win the game. Okay. Credit to Clemson defense for making a stop, but that's again why does it go back to that narrative that we somehow got killed that game? That just baffles me. No, if you go back that muffed punt, I'm telling you right now, I was in the stadium as I said, that muffed punt changed the game completely. Gave them the ball against a defense that had been just finding their footing, and they were it was as he scored the touchdown as they scored the touchdown off of that muff, I just turned. I said, "Yep, this is game. We're probably not going to win this game now." Even though I felt extremely confident when we were up 9 and we had the game in control. Again, an unforced error that made no sense that we killed ourselves on. So let's go to Clemson. I mean, there's other mistakes in that game, but let's go to Clemson 2019, right? The Fiesta Bowl last year. And I want to clarify something before I get, I showed the Dobbins plays, obviously, and the Olave play, and people want to say, well, if you don't score in the red zone, if you go for field goals, yada, yada. When I talk about unforced errors, again, I want to clarify. That first red zone trip, that's just Clemson playing good defense. It is what it is. We didn't drop a pass or whatever. Give Clemson the credit. They held us to a field goal, and they earned it. But we're up 10-0. And the Dobbins, that little wheel route he dropped it / kind of bad pass. I mean, that's 2 unforced errors from our quarterback, our all Big Ten quarterback, and our all Big Ten running back. And Dobbins, obviously one of the best players in the country. Maybe he should have just held on to it instead of stretching. I don't know. He had to stretch out for that. You can debate that if you want. Leave a comment if I can debate that if you want. It's uncharacteristic. These guys were making big plays all year. That is not something these aren't mistakes that they normally make. So if you go up and you score, it's 17-0 at that point. 17-0. And it's a game-altering play. Okay, maybe you can survive one, right? You can survive one game-altering play against. But again, this is Clemson. You don't want to make these huge mistakes. So the next play, Dobbins dropped a screen pass. And as Chris Fowler was saying, he had a blocker and a lot of green. He was going to score if he caught that. And I think he knew it. That's why he dropped it. Clean drop. Ugh, that one hurt. That one really hurt, right? That one stuck with me. That hurt. Because it was obvious. I mean, I think I shrieked from my chair when I saw that happen because I was like, oh, that was such a touchdown. And say if he doesn't drop the first one from the other drive, and then he doesn't drop this one, well, guess what? Well, all of a sudden it's 24-0 instead of 16-0. That's an 8-point difference. That's a touchdown and 2-point conversion difference in that game. That was lost by 6 points. I mean, gosh, right then and there, the game isn't over necessarily, but you're pretty confident. You're pretty confident. And of course, I showed the Olave scramble drill. Again, I don't know for sure if Olave would have caught the touchdown. Nolan Turner could have broken on that and maybe broke up the play, but he doesn't get the pick. If Olave and Fields, who have been on the same page the entire year, I mean, I don't even remember that happening the rest of the year. I don't even remember that happening where Olave thought he scrambled, and then we just had a miscommunication. Again, these are just uncharacteristic mistakes that we were making. It just didn't make sense. That completely altered the game. And I know Clemson had made mistakes, but not to me. I haven't seen any. Maybe I'm missing it, and you can put it in the comments again if I'm missing it. That we're just completely game altering. That put it back in our favor, or put the game back in our favor. Well, that's not true. That's not true. They did make one mistake, and you know what? Come to think of it, they actually made one really big mistake that could have altered the game.
They have possession. Akuda, tight coverage.
Ooh, I don't know.
Boy, he's holding on to that football. He has possession of that ball. That's a catch.
On the field with a catch, a fumble and return for a touchdown. The previous play is under review.
I think he had it long enough. I agree. And Akuda getting that long arm out there. That's why he's frustrated he didn't win the Thorpe Award. He felt he was the best defensive back in the country this year.
Absolutely, and he's very deserving to think that. How about the long arm?
This play will drive me nuts for the rest of my life, much like the muff punt in 2013. That play really sticks in my craw. But this play, it was a clear catch and fumble. I don't care what any Clemson fan has to say. And I swear, and you talk about, well, don't make excuses, yada yada. This is something that's complete. Ohio State made a play and it was taken from them, and it wasn't like they called it incomplete and then we looked at the replay. Oh wait, it might not have been incomplete. They literally let it go. They did the right thing on the field and called it a fumble, and of course he returned it for a touchdown, and they somehow found reason to overturn it. And I had Clemson fans in my mentions after the game. It's questionable. I'll give you that. No, it's not questionable. Stop it. You got a gift, and then say, well, it shouldn't matter. Excuses, blah blah blah. You took 7 points, well, at least 6, off the board in a 6-point game. Well, ended up being a 6-point game. And it's funny because we like to play the what if game, right? I had a lot of people do that, but what's the what if game if that play doesn't happen? Well, the what if game, okay, say if that play happens and they uphold it. So we're up, at that point we're up 23-21, right? Now somebody has said to me, well, we scored the next drive. Did we? No, Fields was picked off the next drive by Simmons, for those who are wondering. But we play the what if game. What if TD is upheld? Going to the fourth quarter, when Brian Day, with about between 11 and 12 minutes left in the quarter, we were on the 22-yard line. Remember the 4th down and 2? He throws. He goes for it, right? Day goes for it because we're down 21-16. He throws. It's a touchdown to Olave. We're up 23-21. Now, maybe in that scenario, if we had that play in the third quarter upheld, the Fuller touchdown upheld, maybe he goes for a field goal there because we have a field goal kicker who's pretty good. He was 13 for 15 on the year, 86% completion with a long of 55. He had a leg. maybe all of a sudden, he goes for the field goal. Maybe, and then of course, then you play the game of, well, what if he missed it? What if he made it? Well, say he makes it because he's not a shaky kicker. He's pretty good. Say he makes it. All of a sudden, it's 26-21, and with 11 something to go in the game, maybe Day doesn't go aggressive on that and says, well, let me take the 3 points. Let me get up by a touchdown instead of a field goal. And then say the game keeps playing out, right? The game keeps playing out, and all of a sudden Trevor Lawrence and them drive down. They do that 4-play drive, which was absurd by our defense, and just great plays by Clemson. I'll give them that. And all of a sudden they go down and score, and of course they're going to go for 2 in that situation. Obviously, you can go 29-26. All of a sudden, at the end of the game, maybe the Olave interception isn't happening. Because we're at the 23-yard line when that happened. Maybe all of a sudden we're kicking a 39, 40-yard field goal to try to tie the game. Maybe not at that moment, but we don't have the need to be super aggressive to get to the end zone. Right? In fact, if anything, Ryan Day is screaming, don't turn the ball over. So maybe we're like, okay, we're going to try to get a touchdown here, but we're good with a field goal attempt because we have a good kicker, and we're good with taking this to overtime. I want to play the what if game, I mean, it's an incredibly huge play. And for anybody to claim that it isn't is just wrong. It's amazing to me that I have people who claim this. So honorable mentions in that game by way of mistakes. KJ Hill dropped a touchdown pass. Now, granted, he was interfered with a little bit, but it's a bang-bang play. It's not something that they just dramatically missed. He still should have probably caught it. Again, that was the same drive as Dobbins when he dropped the screen, though. So they cancel each other out in a sense. But the drop screen is much more, to me, it's an easier play to make. So I put that up there above the drop pack. I think it was like a 25, 30-yard pass play to Hill in the back of the end zone. And of course, you talk about the weight ejection, and I know Buckeye fans would be Buckeye fans would be mad if I didn't bring that up. If they had called it when it happened, I think I would have understood it a lot better because he did dip his head. They did get head-to-head contact. As soon as I saw the replay, I said, oh, gosh, Wade's gone. But why didn't they call it on the field? And, of course, you had Chase Young in the very exact same play getting his helmet taken off. It's just because Trevor Lawrence laid there that we decided to review the thing and retroactively call a penalty. And we were all arguing about whether or not it was targeting or not in the spirit of the law, but at the same time, why even do that? I don't understand why. I mean, because he laid there, decided to act hurt, and he did it again this past year. I get, okay, fine. You help your team out, but why are we retroactively making these calls? That was a frustrating part about that. But again, why am I bringing all this up? I'm bringing all this up because we got to stop pretending like Ohio State doesn't have the ability. It's going to shock people when Ohio State's actually successful against Clemson in certain areas. I mean, I think we're going to run the ball on them. I think Justin Fields is going to be fine and have a good game. We got 2 amazing receivers that are going to give them fits. I'm not saying there's not areas where we have to be concerned or have concern, or there's not areas where they can exploit us and be successful against us. Of course they can. Clemson's a great team, but so are we. That's the point. And you could arguably say, other than without a couple of Ohio State grotesque mistakes, we're 2-1 against Dabo instead of 0-3. So my point to Ohio State and Buckeye Nation is be confident, be optimistic, have fun. They're not going to let you down. They're a few plays away from winning these games. Now, they have to make them, granted, but be confident, have fun, and be excited for the game. I know I'm ready. I'm ready for Friday right now. I wish it were Friday, 8 p.m. right now. Thank God Cobra Kai is coming out. I'm probably going to watch a lot of that, plus switch between that and whatever football's on, and we'll see if Cincinnati gives Georgia a good game. Then probably go Alabama, Notre Dame. The reason why I might watch something else besides those 2 games is because they could potentially be blowouts. Who knows? If they're not blowouts, I'll be watching football. If they are, well, I'll just be watching Cobra Kai season 3. So anyway, guys, I appreciate you listening. As always, goodbye, God bless, and go Buck.